It was like, I don't know, the alcohol was what was winning the experience of the night. And that's when I started to get kind of like, oh fuck, I just took 100 micrograms of LSD. Like, what the fuck do I do? Let's go, baby. Yes. Fuck yes. My wife bought me a new camcorder. It was a total shock and surprise. She bought it for our 5-year anniversary. That's why I'm so elated. I've recorded this a couple times already, like try to tell this story, but I kept having like technical issues and problems. So obviously with this new camera my beautiful, amazing wife bought me, it makes everything a lot more simple. This happened about a month ago. It was a few days before Valentine's Day, the Friday before Valentine's Day, 2021. That Friday night, my wife and I went to dinner. I forget what happened exactly, but I had to work on Valentine's Day. So we went to dinner that Friday night, decided to hang out that night, and have like a Valentine's Day weekend. So we went to dinner. I forget where we went. It was a nice place. We actually shared a bottle of wine, and it was a really good time. It was, real good vibes. We came home. We had more bottles of wine here, so we continued to drink wine. That's very important to this story, sort of. I'm starting to notice that with wine, I can't like judge my like limits. It's hard for me to keep myself under control, because after a while when you're drinking wine, it starts tasting like fucking juice. It starts tasting delicious. So it's hard to control myself. I definitely learned that this night. I learned a lot this night, but that was one of the main lessons, I guess I'd say. Anyways, as the night went on, it got progressively more wild for me. Normally when things get really wild, when I start drinking too much and getting wild, Monica tends to back off and chill because she sees me, and vice versa. We have a good balance that way. This night, the alcohol, and then I ate some edibles as well, got me into a state of mind where I was not worried. I wasn't concerned with my limit, with limiting my alcohol consumption. I just wasn't, and that's a bad place to be in for me. I've struggled with alcohol for years, and it's always a complicated thing. There's nights where I go out and I have a great time. I come home and feel no shame. There's times where I go out and feel utter shame the next day, like suicidal thoughts type of shame, like really bad because of alcohol. I think it goes deeper than alcohol. That's where I'm at now. I think I'm starting to understand that the shame that I'm feeling has nothing to do with being drunk, but it has everything to do with me just being ashamed of who I become when all my inhibitions are gone. Because, and I know I haven't really talked about the LSD yet, but it's kind of what I learned. It's like, I'll just tell the story first. So as the night progressively got wilder, in some sort of drunken, wild thought, I was like, you know what, let me take a little bit of this LSD that I have in my closet that I've been sitting on for like a year or two now. At first I just wanted to do a little bit, have a little bit of, an extra vibrancy to the night, I guess. Make everything glow a little bit better. That's what I always tell myself. But I was so drunk, and I was in such a, I would say, ignorantly confident mindset that the second that I ripped that LSD tab and only took a little bit, I kind of had a feeling I was going to do the rest that night. This was a 100 microgram LSD tab, and it was 1p LSD technically, but same thing basically. I've always heard this thing that alcohol causes your trip to be a lot more mild. It suppresses the LSD. And I guess I never really subscribed to that theory because I never really noticed that. But I definitely will say that I understand that now. I took like a little rip of it, and then probably 20 to 30 minutes later, I was like, fuck it. I was FaceTiming my cousin, Corey, and I was like, you know what, fuck it, dude. I don't feel it. I'm just gonna take the rest. I took the rest, and when I did that, I told Monica. And Monica's never really been like that comfortable with psychedelics or drugs. You know, she's had a lot of crazy experiences with drugs in the past, as far as like people in her family, not her drug experiences. But so when I told her that, she was instantly just like over the night, and she was already falling asleep and kind of done for the most part. But once I did that, she was like, okay, I'm leaving. I'm going to the other room. And when she did that, it kind of set me straight, or set me on the path of like getting my shit together that night. Right? So I wasn't being crazy and wild and violent. We weren't arguing. You know, it wasn't this crazy bad vibe night at all. It was just, I was too excited. I was overly excited, overly confident. That is probably the only reason that the next day wasn't as bad as it could have been, was because it was a good night and it was good vibes. So when I take the acid, I think there's like a little bit of period of time where she's still hanging out with me. And I put on this 3D like rated X half porn movie directed by Gaspar Noé called Love. And for whatever reason, I thought it was super funny to put on. I thought it would be like interesting for us to watch, I guess, on Valentine's Day while I was on acid. It just seemed like the perfect thing to watch. The first scene is this couple in this, the first scene is like this couple in this weird, like almost like a 69 position with like them, like her like jacking him off. Like it was blur, but it was a wild scene to see. And I remember her getting really annoyed and pissed off, like, what the fuck are you doing? Why did you just put this on? So it was like, I don't know, the alcohol was what was winning the experience of the night. And I know I'm skipping around a lot, I'm sorry, but it's a blur. But like I said, she left. And that's when I started to get kind of like, oh fuck, I just took 100 micrograms of LSD. Like, what the fuck do I do? So I FaceTimed my sister. And me and my sister are not like super close. We don't talk like that all the time, but it was a nice conversation I had with her. I don't know if it was nice. We were both really fucked up, but that kind of like kept me sane for a second. And then my phone died when I was talking to her. And I remember just feeling like panic and despair and loneliness. And that's when I started understanding, oh, I'm feeling it now. I need to go to sleep. Because I was so afraid and cowardly, because I knew I would regret it like a motherfucker the next day if I didn't go to sleep. Basically, as I started feeling the LSD, I took like 6 of these little melatonins, and I took a sleeping pill. I think it was like 60 milligrams of melatonin, which is a lot, and a like a little allergy sleeping pill, one of the cheap little Dollar Tree ones. That was a very irresponsible decision, but I'm almost glad that I did it, because I don't know where my mind would have went if I didn't physically force myself to sleep. I remember the night, I basically slept through my entire LSD trip for the most part, like the peak of it. But I do remember waking up a few times, going to the restroom, and being in the middle of a fucking peak LSD trip. I remember going to go pee, and I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but sometimes when you go pee as a man and you're looking down at the toilet and your fucking piss stream is going down, that's like one of the most visual things you could ever see. It reminded me of my first time taking acid in Huntington Beach, which some of you guys might know about. It was a wild ass visual and vibrant. It was as if like, and the sound of it was just vibrating through my body. And all that despair and like loneliness was gone in those moments that I went to go pee, and that I remembered kind of the LSD a little bit in those moments. Like, I wasn't nervous or like worried like I'd be if I was, if there was like bad vibes, or if like me and Monica weren't good, which was kind of a mind fuck, and I'll talk more about that. But I ended up waking up and I had to do a podcast. This is where we did the Father John Misty Honey Bear podcast, and I didn't want to do it. I didn't think I could do it. if me and Monica were not good that morning and she was not like, I don't know, like loving to me, it could have went really bad. And that was kind of what I learned through it all, is that it's not the alcohol that I'm ashamed of and that I have an issue with. It's the insecurities and the projection and the social disillusion that I have, I guess. It's the fact that when I drink alcohol, I project a lot of my own bullshit onto everybody else. And I'm very ashamed of a lot of things that I've done while being drunk. But it's almost like when you grow up and you stop blaming your parents for everything about you, and you start saying like, hey, it's not your fault. It's my fault. It's kind of what I learned that night with alcohol. Is like, it's such a scapegoat to just be like, you know, like, I can't drink anymore, man. I just can't go out. I can't have fun with my friends. I can't go do nothing. It's a scapegoat. That's weakness. That's not strength. In my position, for me. I realized with this weirdest LSD experience ever that it wasn't the alcohol that I felt shame for. It was me. And ever since that day, like, I feel like I've lost this urge to, not to drink, because I still have that urge. I still enjoy, I've had, you know, a few drinks since then. I've gotten drunk one night since then. But I guess I've lost the urge to hate myself because of it. And I've lost the urge, or I don't know, I just don't, it's like almost like the LSD cleansed me that night. Like in a sense of like my perception of alcohol, because I was peaking on acid while I was shit-faced drunk at the same time. And it was almost like the LSD kind of showed me like, oh, this is not so bad. Yeah, you get a little wild and crazy and obnoxious and loud sometimes, but that's not bad. That's just who you are. And the more you push that away, the more things will get confusing and you'll project, shit that's not really there. And what I really need to do, I feel, is just accept myself. Accept the fact that sometimes I can be overbearing and a little silly and wild, you know? And that's okay. But I need to stop acting as if that's not who I am and trying to suppress that. Because when I try to suppress it and then it comes out, I'm like, fuck. Look at alcohol made me get all fucking stupid and silly and say stupid things again, you know? Don't get me wrong. Alcohol is a fucking poison, and it can be very, very negative for you mentally, physically, socially, in many, many ways. And I'm not saying that I love it now, and I'm not saying that like I'm gonna get drunk all the time now and I'm better and I'm cured. I'm just saying that I guess I learned that a lot of my ideas with alcohol were projections of myself. And even a lot of different ideas I've have of people in my life maybe is projections of myself. And it's really complicated. And you can confuse yourself. You can trick yourself. You can legitimately talk yourself into believing some bullshit. Some obvious bullshit. So, anyways, the next day I got up, I walked, I went for a walk. I did the podcast. I spoke, with my wife and my cousin. I smoked a good amount of weed and I slept all day, which is something I don't normally do. I'm pretty sure the melatonin in my system is really what helped me sleep all day. But then I went to work that Sunday. It was a little weird that day. It's because I still wasn't 100%, but my brain was still foggy. And it took me a few days to really learn the lessons that I'm telling you now. But yeah, man, I don't know. It's kind of, I didn't even know what the fuck I was going to talk about. Maybe this trip story will be titled something about LSD and alcohol. I don't fucking know. I love LSD, man. I really do. And I'm starting to understand more that why it's always been kind of like my favorite thing and what my go-to and stuff like that. It can provide such clarity in certain moments and certain times, and it has for me. And I was not expecting to have that psychedelic trip that night, you know. And that was another thing that was great. It was like I wasn't like expecting anything. Oh, I didn't like have a trip story in mind at all that night. Yeah, man, I can't believe I just did my own trip story right now. I can't believe I just did that. Yeah, I guess that's it, man. This was nice. This was really nice. Just being able to set a camcorder up and just record and not worry about like setting up the microphone, hooking it up, making sure it sounds good, all this other shit. Like, this is great. I fucking love my wife, man. We've been married for 5 years today. We're going to San Diego, getting a room, having dinner, going out. A lot of beautiful things are happening, and I want to deserve it. I'll end with that. I want to deserve it. Love you guys so much. This has been great. Please check out our podcast, the Mind Control Podcast, okay? It's basically like a book club. Every 2 weeks, we discuss either like a new book, a new movie, TV show, a new album. If you follow along with the projects that we're checking out, it's a lot more interesting of a podcast. You can find that information. You can just search Mind Control Podcast on YouTube, I think, or links will be in the description and all that. That's all I'm going to promote. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe. I'll say that as well. I fucking love you guys. I'm sorry that it's like things have been rocky and weird on the channel. I don't know, man. We're just going to take it day by day. And I got a camcorder again. Be happy, be yourself, smoke something, drink something. I'll see you guys next time.